So let's talk about traditional and simplified characters. Before the 1949 revolution, there was really no such thing as simplified characters. There were characters that were written in short form because they were handwritten, but there was no such thing as simplified characters. In 1949, the communists introduced simplified characters, and what they did is they simplified about 2,000 characters. If you look at this text, there are about 100 characters here, and if you look at it in traditional on the left and simplified on the right, you'll see that about a third of the characters are simplified. The official reason given for simplification was to reduce illiteracy, although there are also political overtones. The communists wanted to have a break with the past in all respects. Illiteracy was very high in China, although a lot of that had to do with the education system and not necessarily with the difficulty of the characters. In fact, in Taiwan and Hong Kong, where traditional characters are still used today, the literacy rate is very high indeed, over 99%. They simplified about 2,000 characters, and what simplified means is that they reduced the number of strokes. There were a number of different ways they did that. A number of radicals have been written in simplified ways for a long time. So the first thing they did was they simply took those simplified methods of writing the radicals and they codified them. And now they always look like that as opposed to just when handwriting. Another method they used was by retaining one recognizable element of the character and getting rid of everything else. Another method they used was to replace the phonetic element in the character with a simpler phonetic element that sometimes was the same phonetic element or sometimes was similar in sound. One more technique they used was replacing relatively infrequently used characters with similar characters that sounded the same. So as a result, you have a number of simplified characters that actually represent more than one traditional character. The next four screens contain 134 characters. The left-hand column is the traditional character, the right-hand column is the simplified character, and each of these character simplifications carries over into other similar characters with perhaps different radicals or different other components. So take a few seconds and look at each of these examples, trying to understand, trying to see how exactly they were simplified. In some cases it's obvious, in some cases it isn't. One of the things you notice if you look is that in many cases the radical has been left unchanged. In some cases, however, they have changed the radical, sometimes quite drastically. Simplification actually did not go over that well with a lot of educated Chinese, and they tried to simplify more characters, but that was not accepted by people. When you study Chinese, you want to be able to recognize both, although when you write or type, it's really sufficient to focus on one, since educated people can recognize either. Based on what we've discussed, see if you can guess which of the characters on the right are the simplified versions of the characters on the left. Think about the various techniques I discussed. When you think you know what one is, click the button and you'll see what the right answer is.